They say you don't really know your neighbors until you cross them. Well, I learned that the hard way, at sunrise, on a porch stained by 1,000 cups of coffee, staring at my old man's '67 Rancher. Hidden under a faded gray tarp, with a notice from the HOA pinned right to the windshield like a threat. You ever get that feeling, like the ground just shifted under your feet? That was me, standing there in my socks, looking at a piece of family I couldn't replace, realizing the people who promised peaceful streets and manicured lawns just declared war on something a whole lot deeper than curb appeal. Now, this truck, man, it was more than rust and rubber. It was my dad's voice on a Sunday morning, humming under the hood, his coffee mug wedged in the cup holder, the map in the glove box all wrinkled up from too many hands and too many stories. The dent in the fender? He always said, you park close to the road, you get a few scars, makes life interesting. That's the kind of man he was. And I'll be damned if I'd let some clipboard queen take that away with a smile. Willow Ridge sold itself as a place where nothing bad ever happened. Tree-lined streets, flower beds that looked straight out of a catalog, folks who waved like they meant it. But there was always that undercurrent, that edge, if you know what I mean. Lena, my wife, she's sharper than any lawyer I've ever met. And stubborn in the kind of way that doesn't burn hot, it just settles in and stays. She could see the game before anyone else did, spotting patterns like weather, tracking every little thing in her spreadsheets. The HOA president, Martha, hid steel behind her sugar. She'd grin at you like a favorite aunt, right up until you left a lawn gnome where she didn't want it. To her, a rule wasn't a suggestion, it was gospel. Barbecue nights always ended with Martha circling the yard, clipboard in hand, handing out judgments. When I joked about it, she shot back, order keeps value. It sounded harmless enough, but when Carlos, the roofer from down the block, had his truck hauled off for commercial parking, I started to see the cracks. Guy had fixed half the roofs on our street, but one little complaint, and suddenly there's an official-looking slip and his truck's in the wind. At first, I tried to laugh it off, thought it was just HOA overreach, maybe a bad day. Then I got the notice, vehicle in violation. Liberty Towing showed up like clockwork, and Martha told the police my father's truck was abandoned. State law, she said, nothing personal. I sat in the precinct, filling out forms with Sergeant Miller. Good man, but he could only promise so much. Lena didn't take maybe for an answer. She started pulling threads, making calls, digging into every record she could find. Why did Liberty Towing show up right after Martha's complaint? Why did every impounded truck wind up at the same little storage lot, registered under a Crestfield P.O. box? She went deep, public records, bank statements, storage registries, built up this picture that stank of something bigger. There was a rhythm to it all. Complaint filed, truck towed. Owner threatened with fees they couldn't pay. Vehicles auctioned off to the highest bidder. And the money? It flowed back through community funds, like some twisted side hustle disguised as neighborhood maintenance. It was Lena who found the notes, handwriting that matched Martha's lists of undesirables and curb appeal risks, all tucked away in a binder. That was the confession, right there on paper. So we set a trap. Lena hid a GPS tracker under the dash. I put a fake for sale sign with a burner number on the truck, made it look like an easy target, just begging for the taking. Right when Martha was busy parading the neighborhood for her annual charity gala. White tents, wine glasses, the whole 9 yards. Her son Derek started popping up everywhere, coordinating things with Liberty Towing. The stage was set. Sure enough, a neighbor complained. Liberty showed up, and the truck disappeared. This time, though, we had eyes on it. Officer Kelly, new on the force, promised to follow the tow and report back. Only, he vanished for hours. When we finally found him, it was in a Crestfield model home, hands raw from duct tape, scared and angry. They'd caught him taking pictures and decided to send a message. After that, no one played nice. Sergeant Miller took it personal. He brought the heat. Warrants went out, computers got seized, and they matched every single fake notice to the printer in Martha's office. The GPS trail told the whole story, leading from my driveway, to the storage lot, to the auction site. Lena pieced together all the bank records, impound fees, auction proceeds, hush payments. The dominoes started to fall. Folks around Willow Ridge, The ones who'd quietly suffered started talking. Stories of trucks that vanished, of elderly neighbors shamed into silence because they couldn't pay to get their own property back. We needed it out in the open, no more whispers, so we brought it all. To Martha's precious gala. That night, under the white tent, with the whole neighborhood watching, my father's truck rolled in, labeled as a donation to the community fund. Derek, sweating in a suit, got up to make his speech about sacrifices for the greater good. Then, right into the mic, he said, "We move it. We profit," like he was reading off a grocery list. Martha's laughter carried across the crowd. I stood up, heart pounding, hands shaking, and said, "That's my father's truck." The whole place froze. Officers moved in. Lena brought out the GPS logs and bank transfers. There it was, the blueprint for turning community rules into cash. Auction dates, fake complaints, Liberty's receipts, evidence that couldn't be spun or silenced. The fallout wasn't pretty. Depositions, endless hearings, the whole HOA dragged through the mud. Martha got charged with fraud. Derek's name came up in every shady email. Liberty Towing lost their license. Crestfield got slapped with fines, and a receiver had to untangle the books. Carlos got his truck back, and when Lena handed me the keys to my dad's rancher, that old engine's purr felt like forgiveness and payback rolled into one. But it hurt, too, you know? Some neighbors stopped talking to us. Others offered weak apologies that never made it past their front porch. What stuck with me most, besides the smell of motor oil and victory, was watching Martha stand at a board meeting, looking a scared old woman dead in the eye, and saying, "Rules are rules, dear." Like she got to decide whose memories were worth saving. Or the way Derek hissed at me later, "You people think you own the place." Like pride in your home was some kind of crime. Carlos, borrowing money to pay the fees. His shame heavier than any truck. It made us start inviting people over, 2 chairs at a time, lemonade and stories traded like secrets. Folks sharing hurts they'd buried for years. I learned something. When you stop talking, when you shrug off small cruelties, that's when bad things take root. HOA power is supposed to keep weeds down, not tear up the whole damn yard. We all want order. But when the rulebook turns into a weapon, you better believe it's time to push back. So, where do you draw the line between keeping things nice and straight-up control? Have you ever seen neighborly power tilt into something darker? Drop a comment and tell me your take. Right, wrong, messy, whatever. If this makes you look twice at the folks running your neighborhood, maybe share this story so folks check their mailboxes a little closer next time. And if you've ever had something small turned huge because someone with a badge or a title made it so, tell that story too. Because at the end of the day, justice isn't paperwork. It's neighbors looking out for each other and having the guts to call out the folks who forget that.